Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
How is everybody? Just waiting for our little button to pop up so I can share it in the groups. Wonder why it's not doing it this morning. Well,
Usually it does it pretty quickly.
there we go. Did you tag me already?
Nope.
Okay.
But I will do that.
Tag.
Sorry.
You're
I
good.
had that in my head today too.
We are good.
There you are.
Everybody is patient. We're really
Dun,
lucky
dun,
to have you
dun.
guys. Okay.
We are.
Oh. I always. How come I can't get it to go?
Swipe. All right.
You know your phone.
Not really.
Okay.
There
Okay,
you go.
and then share to groups. All right, that one. Oh,
It's doing some funny things.
Braveheart and Unapologetic.
There you go. I was going to say it should be fairly close. There we
Yay! Okay, we're good.
It
We're
went
sideways.
sideways.
That's it. So for some reason, it does that with when we share to groups. So let me just pull it up here.
go. Make sure we're just making sure we're straight up for you guys.
Yeah. It's okay if we're sideways on my side, but I don't want to be sideways on yours. Okay. We're going to get it straightened out here.
In the meantime, how
There we
are
are.
you?
There we are.
We're
Okay.
straight.
Awesome.
Well, let's wait because it's a little behind.
We're a little lagged. We're good.
Yay.
Okay. Welcome to Braveheart Conversations. I'm so glad that you guys are here today with us. I am Jillian Aurora, and this is my co-host, Marie Wallace,
Hi, guys.
the one and only.
The one and only.
And thank you all for joining us today, whether that is on Facebook or you're catching the replay on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, all the different places. We are here every Thursday morning, and we just so much enjoy your company. Today, we are going to be talking about release. And that is just a word that really resonated for me this week. We're experiencing a lot of heavy emotion collectively, individually. I know this has been a super heavy year for me. And heavy isn't all bad. We talk about it sometimes like it is. We talk about it as if it's to be avoided and that we don't want pain. And sometimes we even demonize it like, if something bad is happening, then we've manifested it and we just aren't thinking positively enough. And I really think that that's a lot of bullshit because I honestly believe that we do manifest, but we manifest what we need. Not necessarily the easiest way, but we manifest what we need for our growth because that's what we're here to do. And so apparently this year, collectively, we have decided to manifest a lot.
Some big things.
We manifested a lot of loss, a lot of grief, a lot of conflict.
Some chaos.
A lot of chaos. So, I was really reflecting on the idea of a storm last night, and we've been in the midst of a storm, and I think we're experiencing a lot of people reacting to that storm and reacting to
The tornadoes and the hurricanes.
yeah. We're reacting in fear, and we're reacting in panic and anger. Sometimes our easiest go-to when we're experiencing a storm or something difficult is we want to blame. We want to make it somebody's fault so then we can fix it. And I see that happening a lot right now is blame. Whose fault is it? And how can we make them stop it? Whose fault is the pandemic? And whose fault is the unrest? And whose fault is it? And I'd like to talk about how we can release in ways that are more collaborative and unified and healthy, that aren't actually perpetuating more anger and more unrest. Not that we don't have use sometimes for conflict. I'm the first one to talk about how conflict can be a really healthy thing. Talking about difficult things, that's what we are, right? Braveheart conversations. So we're not at all saying that those conversations aren't useful. However, I also believe that our tendency to always be in reaction and anger, like we need a breather.
Yes.
We really need time to reflect and ground ourselves so that we aren't just making really reactive decisions that we're going to regret later. So I'd like to talk about those release techniques. I'd like to talk about what has been useful to process the feelings, because we all have a lot of feelings right now, and our gut reaction can tend to be suppressing those and making them bad and wrong. But we have every reason to feel sad and feel grief and even anger and frustration. We've been isolated for a long time. We've been experiencing a lot of really unique things this year. So
before we get into those, I also wanted to point out that another coping mechanism is hiding and avoiding, and so it's very healthy to get in there. You know, you might need a moment of hiding, you know, just to kind of deal with it, but to stay there forever to avoid the pain, it's not going to go away.
Yeah. Well, and trying to make it, I really think that fault, like blaming and making it somebody else's fault, it is a way of like diffusing it, but it doesn't actually move us forward.
I was just talking about how sometimes people hide into, watching more TV or distractions. There you go. Yeah, distracting's not going to help.
Yeah. I mean, it can for like a quick moment, but you're not actually going to resolve it.
It's never going to really go away.
No.
Until you look at it.
Yeah, so I did want to make that distinction that that's not what we're saying is to just go distract yourself and put your head in the sand. But there is absolutely valid time to take a step back and reflect, purposefully, consciously reflect in quiet instead of constantly being out in it. And I see a lot of people out in it right now, or just avoiding entirely. So, you know, there's that balance. So I know for me, I've felt an intense lot of sadness. This year has not only been collectively hard, and it's been difficult to navigate through, you know, the pandemic and so much political unrest, but you know, I've had some very significant health problems in my family and close friends. I lost my dog, and that was a really big loss for me. And I've had some business things that have just been difficult, interesting things to navigate this year. And so for me, and we talked about this last week, sometimes what can come up is the imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
And those voices that are like, well, you're not doing it good enough. And I think that when we are in a vulnerable state, when we're experiencing sadness and grief and frustration, opens the door for all these other voices to be happening. You know what I'm saying?
We got the stick out. We might as well keep beating ourselves.
So I think we have a perfect storm where we have all this stuff happening. We're already feeling vulnerable, and then we're isolated. You know, we're stuck at home alone and not doing the same social activities. So I think we really have this perfect storm for some real nasty things to be going on in our heads. So, you know, for me, allowing myself to cry, allowing myself to feel the feelings, for me, writing is such a huge clarifier, because sometimes we're just sitting in the emotion and we don't understand why, or what am I upset about, what's going on. And writing for me is such a great way of getting clarity. And I can just start, you know, writing the vomit that comes out and eventually I'll find my way to some sort of clarity about what's really going on. And then, you know, what's that quote? If you want to find the right answers, you must ask the right questions, or something, or the answers you want, you have to ask the right questions. And writing for me is like asking the right questions. It's getting to just asking whatever curious questions come up that I can write about and find my clarity. And that's going to serve everybody, not just me. But when we're in the middle of those conversations that are out there so much right now, there's so many conversations happening that are fragile and vulnerable discussions. You know, when we're coming from a perspective where we've gotten clarity about our own frustration, emotions, and fears, we can enter those conversations in a way that's so much more healthy and productive, rather than just
do the rally cry of
well, we're either vomiting in our own space on our own paper, or we're doing it in the middle of conversations on other people. So that reflection is really important. Marie, what's something for you that is a good release?
I do writing, and like you said, sometimes art. I mean, because what art allows you to do is just kind of take a moment to just be, right? And not really think about all the things. But then clarity comes as you're going. And I'm with you on the asking the right questions and being curious. Being curious is like, well, I wonder what this is about. And sometimes it comes through in art. What art does is kind of let go of the busyness in your head and allows you to kind of get a more free-flowing. Meditation works. Meditation's really good. It just kind of allows your mind to relax. Getting some breathing helps a ton. Just to get your heart rate down and your anxiousness out of the way, because sometimes it's that angst and that gets you all tense and riled up, and then you read something else or you hear something else. And so breathing just allows me to get back down and just really be more sane. So what is this about? Those are a couple things.
Yeah, and one thing as you were talking that was hitting me is just the observation of where you're at. And okay, I'm taking in this information and I'm anxious, and just that acknowledgement that I'm feeling anxiety, or I'm really revved up right now. I'm really,
and not making it bad or wrong, just like, why am I anxious? Why is my heart like up here? Why am I breathing way high?
Why am I irritable and I feel like snapping at everybody?
That's a good question. Why am I snappy?
Because I think a lot of us are really short-tempered right now. I see that in just people, even at the grocery store. Just
even some of the nicest people are snappy, or just
And so it's not making it bad and wrong, but it is giving ourselves the space to get curious about why we're experiencing those emotions. And then for me, it's about having a safe container to let them go. Like, it's not about saying, well, how do I get rid of this? It's like, I am allowed to be in this. I'm allowed to be edgy and upset. There's reason to be upset. It is not okay for me to take that out on another person.
Piece of paper is really fine. You can say it all.
You can write. And there are good ways to be violent. So go to the gym.
There you go. Take it out on the weights.
Run. There are really strenuous physical activities that give you that same rush. You're really letting out that rage and emotion that's a normal human experience. But when you just bottle it up, it will become explosive. Having a fire, identifying the fears and then burning them. There's all sorts of things that we can do that are symbolic, and they're really helpful and meaningful because we're acknowledging instead of just suppressing. And what I love about all these things, these weren't things that I would have considered years ago, because I didn't feel like they were productive. I felt like they were kind of a waste of time. But they're really beautiful feminine ways that we release emotion and energy. The masculine is all about action, but the feminine is all about being. And I love the idea of really just allowing yourself to be in the emotion, and to not make it bad and wrong, but to really be in that acceptance of it. And even making friends with it, like it's a valuable thing. It's a valuable thing to have these emotions. They won't last forever, but they do serve their purpose. And very often when we're looking for the answers forward, those come because of the frustration we've experienced that got us to clarity, that got us to the point where we said, this isn't acceptable and here's why, and this is what I've clarified as my value. We don't get there without the pain. It's the pain that pushes us to that.
That's the sad news.
Yeah, sad and not.
And not, yeah.
And, I've really learned that I used to think emotions were just, I didn't want them. They were inconvenient. But I really see them as beautiful parts of this experience. So
this last weekend, I was with a group and we talked about the pearls of the pandemic. And I know a lot of people are having a tough time still, and I get that, and that's okay. But when you take the time and just see what did I get from that very difficult time period, there were some beautiful things. And one of the things I identified, and that's just from writing and just going, okay, so what did I, and I'm focusing more on what did I get from it. And sometimes it's a reach, but then when you reach, you're going, oh, that's what I found. And one of mine was new ways of being. And there was a situation where I was visiting my sister, and there was a table and 2 screens and all these barriers, and both of us had to wear masks, and she can't really see. And I just remember going, you can have these physical barriers between us, and it won't matter because we are sisters of the heart, and because we know each other at a different level, energetically we can talk and we can dance, and even if we can't see each other, we're just still in that energy. We can visit each other in the dream world. I don't know. There were just lots of ways of being that and then I also, the other great pearl I got was finding home is right here in my heart, and understanding that it doesn't matter where I am or what's going on, that my home goes with me. So there's just like Jillian was talking about, sitting down and just taking a moment to clarify, what did I get from this experience? It was rough. Maybe you're going through a divorce and you're going, this is hell. Yes, and what else is it? Because there are some moments of hell, and it could be tough, but there are so much beauty and gifts in this difficult time and situation. Maybe you gained freedom. Maybe you gained that I can breathe now, just whatever it is. So, what your thoughts are on that. But
yeah, totally. I think that we have not been so much in gratitude over the last season, and I think that finding true gratitude in, there's an exercise that I've used for years now. Actually, I think it was Lori Dodson that inspired me to exercise this gratitude. But instead of doing a generic gratitude list, picking out the things that you're frustrated by and then creating a gratitude list. And I've used that with many clients too. It's just a really great exercise because we can all say, I'm grateful for a roof over my head and food on the table, and those are kind of easy,
go-tos,
easy ones, but when
and still valid, but not as when you're curious about what is this happening to me.
When you start asking questions like, what am I grateful about the pandemic? What in the pandemic am I grateful for? What in death am I grateful for? Losses. What am I grateful for?
Chaos.
Or people that I don't like that are pissing me off. What am I grateful for? It's powerful. It's really powerful, and it's a much different exercise than just finding, just shooting in the dark for anything that is that I'm grateful for. It's a much more stretching exercise, but so powerful. And when I start to ask those questions, we are built by the fires, right? A diamond is built under pressure. We've all heard that. Well, we're under a lot of pressure. So, is it bad? Well, it's uncomfortable, but we are really magical beings that can use these things to build us. And that's one of the things, we work with a lot of trauma, women that have gone through a lot of trauma. And yes, on one coin, you can say you've been a victim, you've been hurt by someone. And on the other hand, you can say, I am going to use that trauma to build myself even better, even more powerful. And that is badass. That is alchemy. That
empowering.
That is transformation. And that's what we all have the power to do, is say, this can take me down, or I can just use it for my benefit. And we all have that choice right now.
We're moving to the diamond level.
That's right.
Shine us up.
Apparently, it's time for America to get a diamond makeover.
A diamond makeover. Oh, I like it.
Because we're under a lot of pressure right now. But yeah, I think that gratitude piece is important. And on a human level, am I looking for the kindness in people? Because there's so much division right now, and people are name calling. This whole category of people are dumb, they're liars, they're whatever. Instead of that, can we look for the common kindness in people? Because I know people in every political and religious and cultural perspective and point of view, and I can find kindness in all of them. And they're human beings before they are whatever other title.
And we're interconnected, so somehow that person's connected to us, and finding the goodness and the kindness in the other people, and not othering. That's one thing that I've noticed, a lot of othering. It's us and them, and
And
instead of we're all in this together. Now the whole world's in it together.
Yeah, you can't separate us.
You can't separate it.
And the pandemic, it's something we're all facing together. You can't escape it. I feel like what we're talking about right now today is not popular. It isn't a super popular and like sexy thing to talk about, because people are wanting, they're craving the division and the drama, and this isn't a very dramatic perspective.
Or the right and wrong. I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of what we're talking about just gets tuned out, which makes me sad, because peace, I don't feel peace is very popular right now. I feel like sides are popular right now, and it really grieves my heart. And if anything, if I were to be honest, that does bring up a lot of emotion, and so having these outlets to release are important for me. And I do feel alone. I feel lonely a lot of the time, because I see people I love all around me that want me to pick a side, and they don't want to hear about neutrality. And it's a lonely path right now. And I do find solace in, I'm allowed to just grieve that. I'm allowed to sit around the fire by myself and just be with that feeling. I am allowed to light some incense and just build a peaceful space where I can just meditate, and I can both grieve and find gratitude in the same space. And it won't last forever. That is something that I know to be true. We've gone through so many seasons as a collective, and so even if we have to go through another violent phase, which I hope isn't the case, but it might be, I can sit with that, and it will be over at some point. It won't last forever. So
I think when we're in the midst of it, it's hard to believe that it's not gonna last forever.
Yeah, totally.
It's really tough.
And I can, I can say that's true of any loss. You know, when I lost my dog, I didn't see when the tears would ever stop. And, you know, I still have moments, but they don't last forever, and they won't last forever. And, you know, we look back over horrible wars and revolutions, and I'm sure in those times they felt like it was the only thing that was ever going to be happening. But they didn't last, and they're just a tiny piece of history now. So no matter how bad it gets, it will only be a blip in time. And I can be the change I want to see, even if it feels lonely, even if it feels like I'm all alone. I can sit in my living room and hold a space of neutrality, and I can refuse to pick sides, and I can refuse to demonize any person or group of people. I can choose that, and that's
it's a
powerful.
happier place to be. Honestly, it's a happier place to hold that and go, yeah, I'm acting out of my integrity, and I am honoring of other people in this situation. And then what happens is eventually everybody's going to go, and they'll follow suit, because then it's going, well, they're happy, and you know, they're still dealing with the same things I am, and then pretty soon the whole collective starts coming along and going, well, this does feel like a better way to, or a more, not better, but
Well, eventually the pressure is released.
there we go.
Whether it's
the pressure's
through,
released, and then you're feeling a lot lighter, and you're also understanding of the why, and understanding of the why, or being curious about the why, does bring you to a more calm place, a more peaceful place.
yeah, it does. And I think peace comes after release, and it's not necessarily the release we want. Sometimes it is through violence that they find that release, and that may not be what I would choose, but that doesn't mean the collective doesn't have its own power of choice. And you know, we're all a part of that collective, and we get to choose what part we play. Eventually the pressure will be released regardless, and we get to choose that path. So remember that sometimes we feel like we're helpless and that we don't matter because we're this one tiny, tiny little piece of sand in a whole shore. But each of us make up that beach. And so I do believe that there is power in how we choose to hold ourselves individually, and we get to be the change that we want to see. And if we don't like the division that we're seeing among us, then we get to do, you know, be in our most integrity to not be a part of that division, and to see kindness and to be kindness. So yeah, we get to take personal responsibility. And part of that is navigating these heavy emotions, because I don't care who you are on the planet right now, you're going to experience them. Like none of us get to be exempt from that. And so feel the feelings and find the release that feels good and healthy for you.
This being human's a guest house.
Isn't that a poem?
It is.
Yeah.
By Rumi. Just feel all the feelings, and everyone, that's what I love about the poem, is because basically it's like greeting all of the feelings at the door, and one of them even talks about laugh at, but it's just that whole feel the feelings and let them go. And it even says something about sweeping your house of, you know, violently sweeping your house of what needs to go, right? And, you know, when we're having that altercation, like you said, somebody that might not work well with us, maybe that person, it's time for them to move to the next, you know, the next space. Or the other one last point that I wanted to make was, if there is a situation, a revolution, or whatever comes, if my judgment's clouded, then I won't know what my part is in that, and how to be that open vessel for whatever I am supposed to do next, or where I'm supposed to be next. If that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have it in my head. Sometimes it doesn't come out in words. But what am I? What is mine to do? What am I called to do in this situation?
Yeah, and what really came up for me as you were talking about that is it's never been more important to protect our space and to be really choosy about what we're allowing. You know, because there is a lot of, you know, news sources or people that are just like amping up the drama. You can get caught in it, yeah. And in order to have clarity and to really be in our own genuine feelings and emotions, I think, you know, really limiting what we're allowing into our space is so key.
For sure. Yeah. I've done that where I found myself reading one more article or amping myself up just a little more, and I go, wait a minute, I don't need that. I just need, you know, this little thing. And
and right now I think it is that everybody's like, well, I have to know, I have to you know, I have to be informed, and there's a line there for sure. I understand wanting to feel informed and aware, and I understand the, you know, responsibility in that too. But we get to be really choosy about what we're allowing in and who we're listening to.
Exactly.
So, are they perpetuating fear, or are they, you know, are they really encouraging personal responsibility and peace? So anyway, I appreciate you guys being here with us today. I don't see any questions, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I just want to say thank you to those of you that have checked in with us today. And if you're catching us on the replay, thank you so much for being here. You can find us every Thursday on our Facebook group, Braveheart Conversations. Please find us there with all of our past episodes and any live in the future. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I hope you all have a phenomenal rest of your week, and we will see you next Thursday. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.